Once upon a time, in a small village nestled on the edge of a vast forest, there lived a young boy named Ryan. He and his parents lived in a modest house surrounded by fields of rice, where his father worked hard to grow crops. Despite the hard work around him, Ryan was known for one thing: his laziness. Every day, his father asked him to help with the work in the fields. But Ryan's approach was rather unconventional. While most people used sticks or slingshots to chase away the birds that tried to eat the crops, Ryan would do just the opposite. Instead of moving around and actively chasing the birds, he decided to get creative, though not in a very labor-intensive way. Ryan built wooden poles in different parts of the field and connected them with ropes. This setup allowed him to lay down and relax while the poles moved with the wind, scaring off the birds. In his mind, this was an efficient way to finish his task while avoiding any unnecessary effort. His father, though a little concerned about his son's laziness, never said anything because Ryan always got the work done, albeit in a less active way than most. However, his father couldn't help but worry. He often thought to himself, "What will happen if I ever fall ill? Who will take care of the fields then?" His thoughts were filled with anxiety about Ryan's future work ethic. But, as long as the crops were protected, his father didn't feel the need to push Ryan too hard. It was only a small problem that he could overlook for the time being. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months. Ryan continued his routine, spending his days lying in the fields while his father worked hard to maintain the crops. But one fateful summer, a serious event changed Ryan's life forever. It was the dry season, and the heat was relentless. His father fell gravely ill, and suddenly Ryan was faced with the impossible task of managing the entire farm alone. He tried, though he was not used to hard work. For days, he struggled with the manual labor required to care for the crops, watering, tending, and protecting them from pests. But it was all too much for him. The heat and hard work began to take a toll. Despite his best efforts, the rice crops withered in the dry earth. Ryan was completely overwhelmed, and his lack of experience in proper farming only made things worse. Weeks passed, and the crops continued to die, and Ryan began to feel hopeless. One night, after a particularly exhausting day, Ryan sat outside on the porch, gazing at the starry sky. He felt useless. His father had always been the one to carry the burden of the farm, and now, with his father's illness and the failed crops, Ryan felt like a failure. "Why didn't I work harder before?" he thought. "Why didn't I try to do more when it really mattered?" He sat there in silence, the weight of his regret heavy on his heart. The next morning, as Ryan was walking through the village, he overheard some excited chatter among the villagers. A soldier from the king's palace was in town, announcing an exciting competition that would take place at the royal palace. The winner of the contest would receive a chest of gold, a reward that could change anyone's life. Ryan's heart skipped a beat. This could be the chance to save my family, he thought. Without thinking much about the details, Ryan immediately decided he would participate in the competition. The villagers laughed at him, doubting his abilities. How could someone as lazy as Ryan compete against strong and fit men from across the kingdom? But Ryan didn't care about their laughter. He had a plan, and this competition might be his only hope to fix the mess he had created at home. After all, he had nothing to lose. He set off for the palace, eager to begin his journey, which would take him 3 days on foot. His parents were skeptical. They didn't believe that Ryan, with his lazy nature, had the strength to win. However, they hoped this competition might inspire him to work harder and push himself beyond his usual limits. On the 3rd day, Ryan arrived at the palace, exhausted but ready to take on whatever challenges lay ahead. The competition was held near a large lake, and all the participants were gathered, ready for the first round. Most of the contestants looked fit, strong, and experienced, and Ryan felt a wave of nervousness wash over him. "How can I possibly compete with these powerful people?" he thought. But there was no turning back now. The rules were announced, and everyone stood at the edge of the lake. The challenge for the first round was simple. They had to cross the lake, and the first 3 contestants to finish would move on to the next round. Ryan, though nervous, noticed something about the challenge that the others didn't seem to consider. This wasn't a race to swim across the lake. It was a race to get across, no matter how you did it. As the countdown began, the others eagerly jumped into the lake, their powerful strokes sending them quickly into the water. But Ryan hesitated. He wasn't a strong swimmer like the others, and he knew he wouldn't be able to keep up. He quickly assessed the situation, his mind racing for a solution. Without wasting time, Ryan sprinted into the nearby forest and began collecting broken branches and other pieces of wood. He worked quickly and skillfully, fashioning a small raft out of the wood. Using another piece of wood as a paddle, Ryan pushed the raft toward the lake. "This is a race to cross the lake, not to swim," Ryan thought to himself. "I may not be strong, but I can be smart." As the other contestants tired from their strenuous swimming, Ryan steadily paddled across the lake. His pace was slow but steady, and as he passed the exhausted swimmers, he gained confidence. Finally, after a long but determined journey, Ryan reached the other side of the lake. He had finished third, securing a spot in the next round. The next day, the final round of the competition began. The contestants gathered at the starting line, and each was given a large wooden block. The challenge this time was to move the block 1 kilometer to the finish line. Behind them, there were many tools they could choose from to help them in the task, but they could only pick one. The first contestant quickly grabbed a rope, tying it to the block and attempting to pull it with all his strength. The second contestant picked a long piece of wood to use as a lever, hoping to move the block with the force of the lever. Both seemed like good choices, but Ryan didn't rush to pick a tool. He stood still for a moment, carefully considering his options. "I may not be able to win this with brute strength," Ryan thought. "I need to think smarter, not harder." After a few moments of thought, Ryan selected a small knife from the pile of tools. The crowd gasped, wondering how a tiny knife could help him move such a large block. The other contestants quickly began pulling and pushing their blocks, sweating with effort as they struggled against the weight. Ryan, however, didn't try to push the block at all. Instead, he began to carve it. Slowly but surely, he chipped away at the large wooden block, shaping it into a smooth, round ball. The process took some time, but Ryan didn't rush. After an hour of carving, he had transformed the heavy, cumbersome block into a ball that was much lighter and easier to push. Now, instead of struggling to move a massive block, Ryan was able to roll the wooden ball with ease. As the other contestants continued to strain against their heavy blocks, Ryan pushed his ball steadily down the path. With every push, he gained more ground. Soon he was ahead of the others, and with one final burst of strength, Ryan crossed the finish line first. The crowd erupted in cheers, stunned by his ingenuity and perseverance. No one had expected the lazy boy to win the competition, but Ryan had done it. He had outsmarted the strongest and fittest contestants with nothing but his quick thinking and determination. Ryan's victory was more than just a personal achievement. It was a powerful lesson for everyone who witnessed it. It showed that while laziness can be a hindrance, cleverness and creativity can be even more important. And most importantly, it showed that sometimes it's not brute strength that wins the day, but the power of a determined mind. In the end, Ryan didn't just win a chest of gold. He won the respect of the villagers and, more importantly, he learned that with the right motivation, whether it's for your family, your dreams, or proving others wrong, you can overcome your weaknesses and achieve greatness. If you like this video, then hit the like button and also subscribe this channel.